Hello YouTube and welcome back to another exciting episode of Saint Plays Around with Old Builds that he hasn't played with in a long time. This build is actually the build that inspired all of this in the first place. So I've just been going back and playing with builds that I made a long time ago, builds that maybe needed just to be double checked for like the most efficient stat allocation, make sure I was using the right talismans, make sure I remembered to pick up all the talismans that I needed for every particular build, etc. And as I was, well, that wasn't how this started. It started with me just using this build. It's been a minute now. I'm trying to think. It's probably been about like a week for me. By the time you see this video, it'll probably have been 2 or 3 weeks ago. I made a video going over like just different things that you can do to make yourself a better invader in instances where there are 2 invaders in a world instead of just one. And I was using this build for that video. I just kind of had the hankering to go back and play this build, and that's what started all of this in the first place here, where we are now, going through, looking at all these old builds. This is Thunder God Sid, and we use all of the cool lightning spells with this build. Pretty standard Faith Dex build this time. We're at level 140, and so, we've got a close to a 50-50 split Dex Faith, something like that. And that allows us to have the Faith build that uses the lightning spells, but also have the lightning-infused weapons for that thematic consistency, right? And, yeah, when I went back and looked at this build, I don't remember, I might have a lot of these builds. Okay, sorry, I just said like 15 words and none of them meant anything. A lot of these builds that I have done this with were using Bull Goat's Talisman, or we're using the Jar Seal Talisman. And it was so that we could hit like these poise break points. And I have just sort of like, I have poisey builds, but not all of my builds are going to have a lot of poise. And so a lot of the builds, I just got rid of the Jar Seal and just downgraded to some lighter armor, or I would ditch the Bull Goat's Talisman and just have less poise. So that's been like a recurring thing for a lot of these builds. A lot of these builds have had like their poise downgraded, but at the same time they've increased their damage, be it through an extra talisman for the spells that they cast that increases the damage, or Alexander Shard for their Ashes of War, or being able to put on a Spear Talisman or something like that. So a lot of these builds have sort of, Godfrey's Icon is another one. A lot of these builds have sort of like had their damage upgraded, but had their poise downgraded. And I don't know for sure that this build was one of those, but I suspect it probably was. At level 140, I feel like, we could have easily have 1-2 talisman slots and maybe like 10 levels worth of endurance that would have felt necessary, when I made this build X number of months ago, but maybe doesn't seem necessary to me now, playing how I'm playing. So we're using the Lightning Slash Ash of War on the Noble Slender Sword on this build. I also have the Sacred Relic Sword, and I love the Sacred Relic Sword, and it's great for like a Cid, an Orlandu character. TG Cid, Thunder God Cid, Orlandu, whatever you want to call him, in Final Fantasy Tactics. When you have him join your party, he comes equipped with Excalibur, and what is more Excalibur than the Sacred Relic Sword, so I like it, but there's no denying that Ash of War is, it's very annoying, and you can't deny that. I still use it, Don't get me wrong. A lot of times people, you'll invade them, and they just want to be 2 guys or 3 guys standing in a room. Like, that's what they want to do. And if that's what they want to do, then they can try and dodge around, you know, Sacred Relic Swords, waves of gold. You know, it's just, it's annoying, but some people are deserving of the annoying. Also, that Ancient Dragon Lightning Strike cast that we got that Phantom with right there, that was like 1 in a million. I don't know if he got aim punched by the Kindred of Rot, maybe is what, but man, that was an act of God, is what that was. I love this build though. These spells are a lot of fun. Using the lightning spears, Fortisax lightning spear, using those types of spells to like throw lightning over ledges down onto your opponents is just it's just such a fun thing to do. The lightning magic in this game is just so much better than the lightning magic of the Dark Souls games, in my opinion. Not everybody's going to feel the same way, but definitely my take. There's just so many of them, and they all do different cool stuff, and they look cool, and you can make them do, like, you know, just a shit ton of damage. It's great. I love it. I also really like Lightning Strike as an Ashivore. You've probably seen, I've gotten pretty good at like using it as a spacing tool, and if you do that, like, you can do some insane damage with it, which is always super stylish. It's not, you know, it's not something that's going to work every time, but if it works, it's going to look great. And, you know, if you're making YouTube content or you're streaming on Twitch, that's, you know, that's what you want. You want it to look great, and it looks great. This is just a cinematic build, you know? And yeah, it didn't really change much, I don't think. Like I said, if I changed anything on this build, it would have been poise and endurance related, maybe a talisman or something. Faith Dex is all you need. Actually, now that I'm talking about it, I know that I did make a little change. I had this build, and it had like more faith than Dex. It still does, I think, but now they're closer. So it might have been like 60-40, and now it's closer to like 50-50. Probably like 45-55 or something like that. I checked to see if lightning damage would be noticeably better if I gave myself 5 more Dex, and it was noticeably better. So I did do that. I gave myself 5 more Dex, and probably took that 5 out of faith. The spells hit hard already with the gravel seal, and also we have the Godfrey icon if we need him to do more damage, and we also have the flock canvas faithful talisman if we need him to do even more damage than that, you know. Fun fact, the little guys right here, not only can they hit invaders, they will target invaders. You can also target them back. Like, they just fight anything and everything, which is, you know, makes for some fun invasions. But, you know, it's one of those things you should definitely be aware of going into a situation instead of finding out the hard way. So here you go. here's your little update, your little warning that those dudes will absolutely not just hit invaders, they will target you, they will fight you. You can lock onto them and you can fight them back. So, yeah. But what a great invasion. And I really love this build, and it's a very simple build. Elden Ring is so great about, like, you can make 5 different faith builds and all of them will be different, you know? You can make 5 different intelligence builds and all of them can be different. I love that. It's pretty nice. Arcane builds, kinda, but not so much. But yeah, there you go. 45-50, as opposed to probably 55-40 is what it was before this little respec endeavor. And there's our talismans and everything, and the fashion as well. And yeah, oh, and the lightning pots. That's a great addition to this build because of the Dex. Yeah. So anyway, thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed it. See you next time. Later, y'all.